Apollo C. Quiboloy's request for a written guarantee is right and appropriate. According to his legal counsel, it is the government's obligation to protect its people, adding that Pastor Apollo is only asking for assurances that the government will protect his rights as a Filipino citizen. In other news, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency again denies the authenticity of the documents linking President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. to illegal drugs. This after political vlogger Maharlika stressed that she verified the evidence before exposing it to the public. Meanwhile, the agent who signed the legitimate operation has written to PDEA and is ready to appear if summoned for investigation. Also tonight, loyal sympathizers of Pastor Apollo C. Quiboloy remain positive as they show their undying support and love for the good pastor, despite the continued suppression of his rights. This is after yet another injustice occurred in the Kingdom of Jesus Christ compound in Davao City. Meanwhile, in the Global South, the diplomatic rift between Mexico and Ecuador continues to cause friction among Latin American countries, with Mexican authorities releasing a CCTV footage where Ecuadorian authorities forcibly arresting ex-Vice President Jorge inside the Mexican embassy. And the war between Israel and Hamas grinds on, but forces of the Jewish state has decided to withdraw from Khan Yunis, a besieged enclave in Gaza. Now residents have gone back to what was left of their homes and will struggle to find normalcy amid the looming threat of the attack on Rafah. Good evening, I'm Sarah Santos and you're watching Newsline World. First in the news, the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency or PDEA again denied the authenticity of the documents released by a political vlogger. These documents imply that President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is using illegal drugs. Almar Forsuelo has the rest of the details.
A document aligning evidence proving legitimate operation of the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency or PDEA against Bongbong Marcos Jr. has gone viral on social media after it was released by political vlogger Maharlika. According to Maharlika's post, on March 10, 2012, PDEA conducted an operation at Unit 46-C Rizal Tower Building, Rockwell, Barangay Poblacion, Makati City. The target, according to the document, was Bongbong Marcos Jr. alias Bonget. The mentioned unit is also believed to be the residence of a famous female artist. The document also stated that PDEA conducted the operation after receiving a report that a group of showbiz and politically affluent personalities were frequently using illegal drugs inside the said unit. Maharlika's expose garnered various reactions from Filipinos and has been widely talked about for days. PDEA promptly responded via social media post stating that the picture released by Maharlika is AI-generated or fabricated, emphasizing that in this modern age, it is easy to create fake pictures, videos, and documents. However, in an interview with DZAR Sunshine Radio, Maharlika stated that to avoid troubles, she thoroughly examined the evidence before making it public.
So itong itong tungkol sa PDEA, so nung sinend sa akin, binerify ko pa po yan. Sa dami kong puting ahas, binerify ko yan kasi baka masunog ako eh. Baka mamaya ilabas natin, gawa-gawa lang pala. Kaya bago ko po nilalabas yung mga dokumentong ito, I know for a fact na ito ay hindi AI generated. Ito ay totoong may dokumento.
On Tuesday, PDEA reiterated that the spreading of alleged fake news on social media about an operation in March 2012 is baseless. In an interview with SMNI News, Derek Carrion, spokesperson of PDEA, emphasized the important details which are supposedly missing from Maharlika's document.
We have already, in fact, specified na indeed these documents are spurious in light of yung na-cite po natin na mga reasons, particularly on the certificate or yung authority to operate versus yung pre-operation report na may certain important details po na wala doon. As far as we're concerned, sir, these documents have been verified to be not in our records. In short, they're fake.
Carrion also pointed out that the document does not have a control number.
As far as our certification dated April 4 is concerned, sir, we have cited yung basis po natin for declaring itong mga documents nga po na spurious. For one, authority to operate and the pre-operation report do not have any control numbers. So, in short, this was never entered into the National Operations Center. Yung item 6 and in the authority to operate, particularly yung noted by, intentionally covered or redacted. So we cannot verify. And likewise, doon naman po sa item 7 and 8 ng authority to operate or coordination made by and received by, ganun. Wala rin. Hindi rin po hindi rin po natin ma-verify.
Nevertheless, Maharlika claimed that the agent who signed the legitimate operation has written to PDEA and is ready to appear if summoned for investigation.
And also, nagsalita na nga din po itong si agent na totoo na mayroong raid dapat. Kaso lang, pinigil. Okay? Pinigil yung operation na yon.
For God and my beloved Philippines, Almar Forswalo, SMNI News.
Nominations are now open for the 2024 Association for Philippines-China Understanding, or APCO Awards. Meanwhile, the award-giving body vowed to help further strengthen the ties between both countries despite the escalating maritime dispute. MJ Mondihar has the rest of the details.
Tensions between the Philippines and China have escalated further regarding the West Philippine Sea issue under the Marcos Jr. administration, especially with the current government's closer ties to Americans. According to the Association for Philippines-China Understanding, or APCO, external forces, not Filipinos, are exacerbating the situation.
Yes, totoo yan. Hindi natin pwedeng ma-deny, no? Meron talagang umiigting na tension. Largely, tingin namin, because of outside forces. Hindi naman talaga between the Philippines and China.
APCO is the leading non-government organization in the Philippines, advocating for people-to-people diplomacy, bilateral understanding, and friendship between China and the Philippines. Despite tensions over disputed territories, APCO remains committed to recognizing Filipinos, promoting friendship between Manila and Beijing, even amidst what they perceive as racist issues in the country.
Nababahala rin tayo dahil sa tumataas, umiigting, yung tinatawag nating xenophobia. Yung bang pag-aatake sa mga mamamayan, mga Pilipino, na pro-China raw sila, spies daw sila ng China, at iba pa. Hindi ito makatarungan, nadadagdagan lang ang kalituhan ng ating mamamayan. So hindi tayo nababahala dyan, although we are opposing, no? Kasi isang form ito ng racism.
The 2024 APCO Awards marks its 4th year, and one can nominate individuals they believe are advancing friendship between the two countries. The deadline for nominations is in April 21st.
Iba-iba yung ating mga categories sa ating awards. Meron tayong tinatawag na Hall of Fame, yung mga matataas na official. Meron tayong outstanding. Hindi masyado sila mataas na official, pero maganda ang kanilang naging contribution. At meron tayong mga major awards, yung mga hindi gaano kilala, pero sa mga localities nila o sa kanilang mga sektor, merong impact yung kanilang mga ginagawang pagkilos.
For more information, visit the APCO website. For Gunmobile of Philippines, MJ Mondeha, SMNI News.
European officials are on high alert after receiving threats from the Islamic State terror group of potential attacks on major soccer stadiums. Kirby Hill Trinidad tells us more.
A pro-ISIS media outlet published a threat to soccer stadiums in London, Paris and Madrid, all three stadiums to host major Champions League games, the biggest soccer club competition in Europe. The event attracts thousands of fans. European soccer governing body UEFA said the games will continue as scheduled and they are collaborating with authorities at the respective venues. The threat comes weeks after gunmen attacked a popular concert hall near the Russian capital of Moscow, killing at least 139 people. A counter-terrorism advisor from London said online threats are not new, since it is one of the common tactics used by various terrorist groups to cause or raise alarm. Reporting from Sweden, I'm Kirby Hill Trinidad, your global citizen correspondent for God and our beloved country, the Philippines.
Up next, in the global south, the diplomatic rift between Mexico and Ecuador continues to cause friction among Latin American countries, with Mexican authorities releasing a CCTV footage where Ecuadorian authorities forcibly arresting ex-Vice President Jorge Glass inside the Mexican embassy. And the war between Israel and Hamas grinds on, but forces of the Jewish state has decided to withdraw from Khan Yunis of besieged enclave of Gaza. Now, residents have gone back to what was left of their homes and will struggle to find normalcy amid the looming threat of the attack on Rafah. More news when Newsline World returns.
Abangan ang Banateros tuwing Martes at Huwebes, live dito lang sa SMNI.
Yan ang Banateros, walang inuurungan. Pag tama palakpakan, pag mali ay babanatan. Yan ang
Back in the news, Mexican authorities released the CCTV footage of the Ecuadorian police raid on their embassy in Quito to arrest former Ecuadorian Vice President Jorge Glass. Franco Boranda files this report.
This is the footage showing Ecuadorian armed officers forcefully entering Mexico's diplomatic building and detaining several individuals, with Ecuador's ex-Vice President Jorge Glass said to be among them. To recall, Quito police surrounded the Mexican embassy on Saturday, where Glass had sought refuge since December last year. He had been granted formal asylum protection that same day, before extracting him and taking him to a jail in Guayaquil City in Ecuador. Mexican Foreign Minister Alicia Barcenas described the incident as a shocking situation and stressed that it had never occurred in the recent history of Latin America. Around 200 protesters in Mexico City rallied outside Ecuador's embassy to denounce Quito's actions. Meanwhile, Mexico's diplomatic personnel in Ecuador have returned home after closing indefinitely and suspending consular services for Mexican citizens in the said country. The Mexican side will also appeal to the International Court of Justice as well as other institutions to hold Ecuador accountable for violating international law. Meanwhile, Ecuador earlier claimed that by granting asylum to Glass, Mexico breached the conventional legal framework and abused the privileges of a diplomatic mission. Glass is accused of embezzling government funds, which he strongly denies and has called the case political persecution. International law traditionally considers embassies to be sovereign territories of the country they represent. Several nations, including Brazil and Colombia, condemned Ecuador's action, while Nicaragua formally severed its ties with Ecuador. Meanwhile, the Organization of American States called for dialogue to resolve the escalating dispute and the importance of strict compliance with international treaties. Reporting Franco Baranda, SMNI News.
When we return, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy's request for a written guarantee is right and appropriate. According to his legal counsel, it is the government's obligation to protect its people, adding that Pastor Apollo is only asking for assurances that the government will protect his rights as a Filipino citizen. And the war between Israel and Hamas grinds on, but forces of the Jewish state has decided to withdraw from Khan Yunis, a besieged enclave of Gaza. Now, residents have gone back to what was left of their homes and will struggle to find normalcy amid the looming threat of his attack or of the attack on Rafah. Newsline World will be back after the break. Back in the news, Pastor Apollo Sikibuloy's written guarantee request is appropriate and justified, just as any citizen of any country would rightfully demand. In fact, according to attorney Israelito Torreon, it is the government's obligation to protect its citizens' rights. Carlo de la Peña reports.
It is clear that Pastor Apollo Sikibuloy is only asking for assurances that the government will protect his rights as a Filipino citizen. This is a statement of attorney Israelito Torreon, the legal counsel of Pastor Apollo, following the good pastor's request for a written guarantee that the United States will not interfere or meddle in the cases he's currently facing. In his interview with Banateros on SMNI, Torreon said that Pastor Apollo only wanted the public to be reminded of the government's obligation to protect its own citizens. This is in contrast to President Bongbong Marcos Jr.'s remarks that Pastor Apollo is just tail-wagging after asking for a written guarantee.
And Pastor Kibuloy is educating us. And what is the reason? Well, in all Republican and Democratic governments, we are all founded upon the political theories, philosophical theories of Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, as well as Jean-Jacques Rousseau. No? Social contract theory, in essence, simply states that people does not want to live in the law of nature anymore, and they want to graduate from that, and that they want to surrender some of their rights to this group of people called government, and in return, the government should protect their people of their basic rights. Now, that is the foundation upon which the United States of America was founded upon. That is the foundation, likewise, that we copied from the United States of America. So, in exchange for surrendering our rights to the government has the bounden obligation likewise to protect us. Anong ni-request ni Pastor or demand, if you want to use it, that Washington won't interfere in court proceedings here in the Philippines because he is simply asserting the territorial independence, territorial sovereignty of the Republic of the Philippines, that any foreign power, however mighty they might be, should not interfere in the judicial system of the Republic of the Philippines. I think Pastor Apollo Sikibuloy is actually reminding us about that basic concept of the social contract theory upon which all Republican governments, democratic governments are founded upon. May basihanan pala yun.
Torreon also asserted that there is a legitimate reason or basis for Pastor Apollo's concerns because the United States has taken such actions before, such as extraordinary rendition against an individual, which is an illegal practice.
Extraordinary rendition, actually.
Ordinary pala.
Extra-legal rendition. Illegal po yan. In other words, para maintindihan po ng ating mga nakikinig, parang kidnapping yan sponsored by a state authority or state entity to abduct a particular person wanted in their government and transport it to another government, to another jurisdiction whose laws on torture, interrogation are not so strict, no? So, black sites ang tawag niyan. May mga incidents na po ba ito? Ay naku, ang dami po. We have the Abu Harar case. We have the Abu Umar case which transpired in Milan, Italy. Yung Egyptian cleric nandun lang sa Milan. Naglalakad siya papunta sa mosque. Kinidnap siya ng US government. And then, dinala doon sa Egypt at tinorture at kasi napagkamalan siyang terorista. Ito, presidente na mismo, de facto president ng Panama. I think you all know Manuel Noriega. He was once a friend of the United States government, but then he got allegedly involved in drugs. So the United States of America decided to invade Panama and swoop down, arrest Manuel Noriega right there in the territory of Panama and brought to the United States of America and was tried there. Oh, grabe na example yung presidente pa nga kinuha ng United States of America, de facto president siya nung time na yon sa Panama at dinala sa United States of America. How much more si Pastor? No, kung nakaya ng United States of America ang pag-abduct ng de facto president, all-powerful president of Panama during that time because he was dubbed as a dictator of Panama at that time. His word was the law. How much more si Pastor? So yun, there is really legitimate and reasonable grounds to believe that pastor's fears are not unfounded. Kaya
Pero,
nga,
attorney,
ang request lang naman niya is, baka naman pwede, Mr. President, na i-assure mo ako. Meron lang written affirmation na hindi mo ako dalahin sa Amerika or that United States of America will not interfere in the court proceedings here in the country. Is that unreasonable? I don't think so.
Meanwhile, Pastor Apollo's camp will file a motion to quash the warrant of arrest and seek other legal remedies to address the cases he is currently facing.
Si Pastor Apollo Sikibuloy is now an accused who is ready, able, and willing to face these charges. But he is also an accused who is entitled to his rights under the law. And one of his rights is to question the finding of probable cause against him. And as a matter of fact, we availed of that right. So therefore, you should not fault him if he avails of his right. Kinwestiyon namin via motion for reconsideration at saka ngayon, pagpa-file din kami ng motion to quash warrant of arrest. Hindi naman po pwede na hindi natin i-avail lahat ng rights natin. At saka more importantly, meron kasing kaibahan din dito. Ang kaibahan dito, ang legal complication nga, na meron din ang United States of America is interesado din sa kanya. So, unlike other accused na dito lang sa Pilipinas na may kaso, meron din kasi siyang mga trumped up cases in the United States of America.
For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
Israeli forces have withdrawn to Khan Yunis, which allowed Palestinians to go back to what was left of their homes. Carlo de la Peña has the story.
This is what was left of Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip. What was once home to nearly 400,000 people is now completely destroyed and in ruins. The residents are now facing the grim reality of returning to a city devastated by conflict. After the withdrawal of Israeli forces, Palestinians returned to their destroyed homes, and the once bustling streets now resemble scenes of desolation. Since the withdrawal of Israeli troops from the area, civil defense workers have been tirelessly clearing debris from roads, while the grim task of recovering the remains of those lost in the war dreadfully continues. The downtown area, once a symbol of prosperity, now stands as a haunting reminder of the heavy toll inflicted by months of intense fighting. Returning residents are confronted with the harsh aftermath of their situation as they sift through the rubble, searching for any salvageable remnants of their former lives.
أنا جيت أشوف داري وأشوف دار أولاد عمه هدول لا شقة صالحة للسكن كله خراب دمار يعني مش لا حاجة تصلح أنا جيت يعني كشيت من المنظر أخذت حالي ورجعت على خيمتي بدي أرجع تاني في البحر أنا ساكن هالجيت
جاي أطمن على البيت زي ما أنت شايف الحمد لله على كل حال لقينا لا في بيت ولا في أرض ولا في شجر ولا في مصلحة اللي كنا بنين أملنا فيها وطن ما فيش يعني الحمد لله على كل حال يعني تقريبا الحين خان يونس هي عبارة عن كوم رماد ما ينفعش لا فيها عيشة ولا حياة الشجرة مش عارف لما تزرعها تنبت تاني في هالأرض ولا لا.
With little left intact, many are forced to seek refuge in makeshift shelters, their homes reduced to nothing more than memories. Despite the challenges they face, the residents have no choice but to remain in the city, wary of the looming threat of Israeli attacks on Rafah. Reporting, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
Despite the unfairness and lack of justice, the supporters of Pastor Apollo Sikibuloy of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ continue to pursue justice in a peaceful manner. Let's find out more about this from Jean Domingo's report.
In the heat of the sun, with every drop of sweat, the united call and plea for justice continue from the supporters, members, and full-time missionary workers of the Kingdom of Jesus Christ for Pastor Apollo Sikibuloy, who continues to be oppressed and deprived of freedom and justice from his own country. Through various dances and movements, those who believe in Pastor Apollo not only show their support, but also their undying support and love for the good pastor. This is after yet another injustice occurred in the Kingdom of Jesus Christ compound in Davao City. Despite the intense pursuit of justice and the suppression of freedom felt by everyone, his supporters chose to act in a peaceful manner.
Sinisigaw natin ang hustisya. Kung hindi natin makukuha ang hustisya dito sa lupa, may hustisya po ang langit. Kaya sa pamamagitan ng sayaw, kasi we are engaging in a spiritual battle, no? Spiritual warfare po ito, mga kapatid. Kung nakikita ninyo sa atin pong mga prayer rally, Jericho March, ginagawa natin mga pagtitipon bawat araw, bawat gabi, wala po kaming dalang sandata, mga armas, mga baril, kundi po ang aming mga pagpupuri, mga pag-awit, pagsamba sa ating dakilang Ama at ang ating mga dalay. Kung balikan natin, no, spiritually sa Bible po, mga kapatid, no? Walang ibang pinakamalakas na weapon kundi ang weapon o ang weapon ng panalangin. Yung sa Wall of Jericho, paano yun siya gumuho? Napakakapal nun, mga kapatid. Pero ang instruction binigay sa kanilang Ama, manalangin at umawit. Kaya every night umaawit, sumasayaw tayo because this is our spiritual weapon in this spiritual warfare, mga kapatid. At naniniwala tayo by faith, guguho at guguho din ang walls of Jericho ng deception, ang walls of Jericho ng pagmamalabis at panggigipit, no? Kasi ang kalaban natin ginagamit all avenues, very obvious naman po. All avenues, all na kanilang magagamit, magkasabay po yan. Kongreso, Senado, andyan po Regional Trial Court, Davao, Pasig, DOJ, may banyaga pang bansa ko. Very obvious po ang panggigipit sa taong wala namang ginawang masama kundi puro kabutihan. Kaya nandito po kami, no? Hindi lamang dito sa central headquarters ng Kingdom of Jesus Christ, all over the world po ito na meron po mga naniniwala, taga-suporta po ng ating mahal na pastor.
According to them, this is because of the teachings and example of Pastor Polo of genuine love and care for others more than themselves.
Mapayapang hindi, kung nakita nyo naman, no, binibisita tayo dito ng ating mga nasa gobyerno, wala po kaming dalang baril. Puro po mapayapang rally po ito at yan po ang turo sa amin ng aming mahal na pastor. Kung titingnan ninyo, kung mababasa nyo lahat ng social media, lahat ng panggigipit, lahat ng kanilang mga ginagawa ng pambabato ng mga false accusation, masasakit na mga salita na ni isa wala namang katuturan, pero ang ginaganti po namin, ito, dinadalangin natin silang lahat for their enlightenment. Mapayapa po ito. Hindi po kami marahas. Yan po ang unang turo sa amin ni Pastor kasi disiplinado po ang lahat ng mga kingdom citizens at ang aming ginaganti sa kanila ay puro pag-ibig.
Perhaps many will wonder, how long can they continue their support? Their answer is, until they achieve justice for Pastor Polo Sikibuloy, their appeal and prayers will remain. And whatever the entire world may say, their view will not change, and they are willing to risk themselves for the person who saved and changed their lives. For God and our beloved country, the Philippines, I am Jean Domingo, your citizen correspondent in Davao Region.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the Sun. What your faith can conceive, you can achieve. And that's all for this edition. For more news updates, you may visit SM9newschannel.com or follow us on our official social media accounts on Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Sarah Santos, and this is Newsline World.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Subscribe to SMNI News Channel and turn on the notification bell to keep you up to date. Also visit our official social media accounts and join our community on Viber and Telegram.